The invitation arrived at work, printed on thick black paper embossed with silver. It had no return address, just the initials RF written in sharp, elegant lettering. Ryan stared at it in disbelief. This was it. The invite. The one everyone whispered about in the office, but no one dared to ask directly about.
Reed Farnsworth, the reclusive billionaire who owned the company, was notorious for his exclusive parties. And this was the Halloween maze party, the most sought-after invite in the corporate world. It wasn't just a party. It was a gateway into Farnsworth's inner circle. Ryan's chance to finally be seen, to finally fit in with the elite crowd that ruled his workplace, to move up the ladder.
The party was being held on Farnsworth's sprawling 200-acre estate in the middle of nowhere, Texas. Rumor had it that the place was so massive, it had its own private airstrip, a maze that stretched across 20 acres, and a hidden compound that no one talked about. It wasn't just wealth. It was power. And tonight, Ryan would be part of it. Ryan and his girlfriend, Emily, arrived just as the sun was setting. The estate was as lavish as he'd imagined. Manicured lawns, marble statues, the mansion rising out of the landscape like a castle. The maze was the centerpiece, a massive structure made of 12-foot tall hedges, lined with flickering torches. People milled around in elaborate costumes, laughing, drinking. But despite the merriment, there was a strange chill in the air. Emily had been excited earlier, but now she seemed uneasy. "This place is intense," she whispered, gripping Ryan's arm. Ryan chuckled. "That's the point, babe. This is where the big deals are made." He gave her a reassuring kiss. "Let's check out the maze." They entered the labyrinth, Emily's hand in his. But as they ventured deeper, the laughter and music from the party grew distant. The maze was massive, larger than any he had ever seen. The hedges seemed to tower higher, the torches dimmer. Suddenly, Emily giggled and pulled away from Ryan, darting around the corner. Ryan frowned but laughed nervously. "Emily, wait!" he called, jogging after her. Her giggle echoed through the maze. "Can't catch me," she teased, her voice playful but distant, almost too far away. Ryan's pace quickened, his nerves tingling as he chased her deeper into the labyrinth. But the further he ran, the quieter her laughter became. The torches flickered strangely, the hedges seemed to close in, and Ryan's sense of direction blurred. He stopped, catching his breath, turning in circles. "Emily? This isn't funny," he called, his voice echoing off the towering hedges. But there was no response, just a heavy, unsettling silence. And then, he heard it. Voices. Low, murmuring voices coming from deeper in the maze. Ryan crept forward, staying low, moving toward the sound. As he rounded a corner, his heart nearly stopped. A group of men, maybe 6 or 7, walking slowly in a line. They wore long, dark robes, the ends dragging through the dirt, collecting grime and dust. The robes seemed to absorb the light from the torches, the dark fabric swaying ominously as they moved. Some of them held up wrapped objects toward the sky, others lighting fires. Small flames that flickered as the firelight reflected off something slick and wet on their hands. Ryan pressed himself against the hedge, watching as they passed by, not even a foot from where he hid. One of them carried a long, curved blade, dripping thick, red blood that pooled onto the ground as he walked. In the distance, he saw something worse. A figure, bound and on their knees, forced to hold a flaming stick in their hands. But it wasn't just fire. A black, viscous liquid oozed from the end of the stick, dripping in thick globs. The figure struggled, their face twisted in agony as they were forced to lift the burning stick toward their mouth.
The black liquid sizzled and popped as it touched their lips, and they gagged, jerking uncontrollably. Ryan's stomach turned. "What the fuck is this?" he whispered to himself. He stayed hidden until the group disappeared further into the maze, then darted out, his heart racing. "I need to find Emily. We need to get the hell out of here." He wandered deeper into the maze, panic growing. The paths twisted and looped, hedges closing in on him. Then through the fog of fear, he saw her. Emily. She was standing in a clearing near the center of the maze by a large stone altar, and she wasn't alone. A man had his arm around her, whispering into her ear. Emily giggled, but it wasn't her normal laugh. It was wrong. She swayed, her movement sluggish like she was drugged or drunk. Ryan stormed forward. "Emily!" She didn't respond. The man looked up, smiling. A smile that didn't reach his eyes. It sent chills down Ryan's spine. "Hey!" Ryan shouted, voice trembling. The man whispered something in Emily's ear and she nodded, walking with him toward the altar. Standing around it were more figures in dark robes. One of them held the same blood-drenched blade, its sharp edge gleaming in the firelight. Ryan ran toward them, but the maze seemed to shift under his feet. The distance stretched impossibly long. No matter how fast he ran, the altar got further away. Suddenly, out of nowhere, a robed figure lunged from the shadows and tackled Ryan to the ground. "You shouldn't have come here," the man hissed, pinning him down. His grip was iron tight. "It's too late for her." Ryan struggled, pushing him off with all his strength. He bolted toward Emily, but it was like running through thick mud. Everything around him felt distorted, heavy. As he reached the altar, one of the robed figures turned and slashed with the blade, slicing through Emily's neck. Blood poured from the wound, and she collapsed, choking on her own blood, eyes wide in shock. Ryan screamed. He rushed to her, but before he could reach her, the attacker turned toward him, the blood-soaked blade raised high. He slashed at Ryan's chest. The world blurred. Everything slowed, and Ryan could feel his vision darkening as blood spilled from his body. His limbs felt like lead, his heart beat loud in his ears. The attacker bent over him, but before Ryan could see his face clearly, he woke up. Ryan gasped, sitting upright in bed, drenched in sweat. His heart pounded in his chest, and for a moment, he wasn't sure where he was. The room was dark, too quiet. He looked around, expecting the robed figures to appear, the maze walls closing in. He exhaled shakily, running a hand through his damp hair. A dream. It had all been a dream. But as he sat up, his hand brushed against something on the bed beside him. His heart stopped cold. Lying next to him, as real as the sweat clinging to his skin, was the black invitation.